All right, today we're going way back. Not just to the beginning of human history, but to the very origin of evil itself. We're going to dig into the story of this magnificent celestial being, Lucifer, and the one single flaw that ignited a literal war in heaven: pride. Okay, let's get into it.
So, what was it? What was that first domino to fall? You might think it was some big dramatic action, right? But no, the very first sin wasn't an action. It wasn't an event or even a mistake. It was a thought, an internal decision that took place in the mind of one of God's most perfect creations.
You know, to really grasp the scale of the fall, you have to understand the incredible height he fell from. Lucifer wasn't just some minor angel. The scriptures paint a picture of a masterpiece, an anointed cherub who is basically the model of perfection, wisdom, and beauty. He was, for all intents and purposes, at the absolute pinnacle of creation.
And this is where it all went sideways. The root sin was him looking at his own created splendor, this incredible perfection he was given, and deciding, you know what, I'm going to use this for me, not for my creator. It was the ultimate act of turning a gift back on the giver. Just pure, unfiltered self-worship.
And make no mistake, this wasn't some crime of passion or a spontaneous outburst. The source material frames this as a totally calculated plan, an internal monologue that laid out the entire strategy for a hostile takeover of heaven itself. We're talking about a premeditated coup.
And right here, from the book of Isaiah, we basically get to read the script of that internal monologue. Just notice the repetition, the driving ambition behind these 5 declarations. This is the thought process of a rebel who is absolutely convinced his time has come.
Okay, let's break this down because it's a very clear, escalating plan. Step 1, ascend to the place of power. Step 2, exalt his own throne above all other created beings. Step 3, take the seat of authority. Step 4, rise above all natural limitations. And then finally, the ultimate goal, to become equal with God. The key thing here is that this wasn't just a wish, it was a detailed strategy to steal God's glory.
Now, that level of arrogance is pretty mind-blowing, but maybe you can imagine one being falling for it. The much bigger question is this: how did he convince a full 1/3 of the angelic host? We're talking about beings who saw God's power firsthand, to join him. What was his sales pitch?
And this is where it gets really fascinating. You have to look at the contrast in their plans. Satan's argument wasn't that God was weak, it was that God's plan was flawed. He basically pitched a choice between God's system of freedom, which always includes risk, and his own system of absolute control, which promised security and efficiency.
You can almost hear him, can't you? He probably framed God's plan for humanity as just inefficient and dangerous. He could have argued, look, these humans, they're going to fail. There's going to be suffering. I offer a better way, a system where glory is actually earned, not just handed out. You all deserve more than just servitude. With me, you can have glory based on your own merit, your own independence. It was a powerful, powerful appeal to their own pride.
And unbelievably, it worked. 1/3 of the angels chose to follow him. They traded perfect obedience and communion with their own creator for the illusion of independence, for a promise of greater glory under a new leader.
So this brings up a really critical question. We've talked about Lucifer, we've talked about the fallen angels, but where was the Son of God in all of this? You know, the one who actually created Lucifer in the first place. Was he just standing by, watching this whole catastrophe unfold?
The answer is an emphatic no. He was not a passive observer, not even close. He was the active commander of the loyal hosts, the very agent of the Father's will. This war in heaven, it was fought for his supremacy. So his response was, well, it was multifaceted. Militarily, he was commanding the loyal forces. Emotionally, he would have felt this profound grief for the ruin of this beautiful being he had made. But strategically, his thoughts were already on redemption. He knew right then and there that this rebellion made his own future sacrifice on the cross absolutely necessary. From the very beginning, he saw the end game.
And this, right here, this just brilliantly illustrates the core conflict of the entire story. It all boils down to a battle of 2 wills. On one side, you have Lucifer's 5 I wills, all leading to, I will be like the Most High. And on the other, you have Jesus' perfect submission, which would one day echo in a garden on earth. Not my will, but yours be done. It's pride versus humility. Self-exaltation versus self-sacrifice.
And what was Jesus' own summary of this war? It's this incredibly powerful and certain statement from the Gospel of Luke. I saw Satan fall like lightning from heaven. Now, that is not the statement of someone who just scraped by in a fight. It's the perspective of a commander who saw the inevitable outcome from the very beginning. For him, the victory was never, ever in doubt.
So we end with this. The story of this original coup, it's a cosmic tragedy that all started with a single prideful thought. It really sets the stage for every single conflict that follows. And it leaves us with a really critical question to think about. If pride was powerful enough to cause the very first fall from perfection, what exactly does humility prevent?